20 countries that no longer exist. From ethnic turmoil and civil war to struggles for independence and political mergers, countries come and go over time. Here's a look at 20 countries that no longer exist. Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. In 1922, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, was established in northern Eurasia, stretching from the Baltic and Black Seas to the Pacific Ocean. Toward the end of its reign, the communist country comprised 15 Eurasian republics encompassing over 100 distinct nationalities and was geographically the largest country in the world. The USSR was a major superpower that nearly came to nuclear blows with the United States during the Cold War. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991 and many of the republics within it declared their independence. Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia, land of South Slavs, was located in Europe on the west-central Balkan Peninsula. Once part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Yugoslavia was first established in 1918, but called the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes. It became the Kingdom of Yugoslavia in 1929. After World War II, the monarchy was dissolved, and the country became communist, under the rule of Josip Tito. After his death in 1980, it succumbed to ethnic tensions and a brutal civil war. In the mid-1990s, Yugoslavia separated into 7 distinct states: Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Macedonia, Kosovo, Montenegro, Serbia, and Slovenia. Rhodesia. Located in south-central Africa in the region that is now known as Zimbabwe and Zambia, Rhodesia became a self-declared yet unrecognized country in 1965. Rhodesia was administered by the British South Africa Company seeking gold, copper, and coal, until the country gained independence in 1979 following the 14-year Rhodesian Bush War. German Democratic Republic. After World War II, the Allies divided Germany and its capital of Berlin into East and West, creating the German Democratic Republic, also known as East Germany. The socialist country was under Soviet control until 1990, when it was reunited with West Germany, after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. Austria-Hungary. Created in 1867 through a union of the Austrian Empire and the Kingdom of Hungary, Austria-Hungary included 11 different ethnic groups, was the largest Catholic-led empire of its time, and lasted until 1918. The empire eventually succumbed to nationalist sentiments, becoming the separate nations of Austria, Hungary, Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia. Czechoslovakia. After Austria-Hungary separated into distinct nations at the end of World War I, Czechoslovakia, located in Central Europe, was created in 1918 and included Bohemia, Moravia, and Slovakia. The formerly stable country then fell under Nazi rule, followed by Soviet occupation. Communism in Czechoslovakia eventually came to a peaceful end after the Velvet Revolution in 1989, and the country divided into the Czech Republic and Slovakia in 1993, with the Czech Republic keeping the flag. North and South Vietnam. Vietnam was a French colony during World War II, but occupied by the Japanese Empire. After Japan lost the war, the Vietnamese were able to oust the French, but in 1954, at the Geneva Conference, the country was divided into North and South Communist and non-Communist respectively. What ensued was a long, bloody war involving the North, the South, and the United States, as well as smaller contingents from South Korea, Thailand, Australia, and New Zealand. The U.S. finally pulled out in 1973, after which North Vietnam seized Saigon in 1975, and Vietnam was reunited under a communist government. Federation of South Arabia. The Federation of South Arabia, located on the Arabian Peninsula, was created in 1962, comprised 17 states, and was under British protectorate. The federation was abolished after gaining independence. It merged with the Protectorate of South Arabia to become South Yemen in 1967, which in 1990 unified with North Yemen to become what we know of today as Yemen. Tuvan People's Republic. In 1921, with Russia's support, Bolsheviks created the Tuvan People's Republic, which was only recognized as independent by the Soviet Union and Mongolia. The state lasted until 1944, when it was annexed by the Soviet Union, and today the territory of Tunu Tuva, known as the Tuva Republic, pictured is the modern-day Tuva flag, is part of the Russian Federation. Tibet. Before the 1950s, Tibet, in Central Asia, was a unique cultural and religious community, with little communication or economic activity with other countries, although various protection pacts were negotiated with its neighbors over time, including various Mongol and Chinese dynasties. Because of this, China has long believed that Tibet has been a rightful part of China for centuries and, in 1950, began a long and bloody campaign to incorporate it into their country. Many Tibetans, especially those outside the country, consider this action to be an invasion and the continued Chinese presence to be an occupation by a foreign power. In recent times, the Chinese government has used economic incentives to spur Han Chinese migration to the Tibetan Plateau in an attempt to further incorporate the region into the Chinese state. United Arab Republic. The intentional union of Egypt and Syria was proclaimed in 1958, but ended quickly in 1961, after a military coup when Syria declared itself independent. Egypt, however, kept the name until 1971. The republic was created by Gamal Abdel Nasser, who hoped it would one day include the entire Arab world, which had been divided by colonial powers after World War I. Ottoman Empire. Spanning more than 600 years, from about 1300 to 1922, the Ottoman Empire was one of the longest and largest empires, at one point controlling parts of the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and North Africa. The empire's reign is famous for its power and Islamic nature, as well as outstanding achievements in the arts, science, medicine, and architecture, but its demise came with the Renaissance and the Industrial Revolution. The empire was finally abolished by the Treaty of Sèvres. Kingdom of Sikkim. The Kingdom of Sikkim was a sovereign nation established by the Namgyal dynasty in 1642 in what is now northeast India, in the eastern Himalayas. It was ruled by Chogyals, temporal and spiritual kings, but became a British protectorate in 1890, and then an Indian one. In 1975, India deposed Sikkim's monarchy and, in a special referendum, the people voted in favor of becoming a state of India. Confederate States of America. From 1861 to 1865, the Southern states separated from the Union, after Abraham Lincoln became President of the United States. 11 states formed the Confederate States of America in the hopes of keeping slavery legal to support their plantation-based economy. Their president was Jefferson Davis. The North and South fought one another in the American Civil War that killed 750,000. The war was eventually won by the North, which brought the Confederacy and slavery in the United States to an end. East Pakistan. East Pakistan's short life, just 17 years, was rife with turmoil. Located on what is today known as Bangladesh, the Islamic Republic of East Pakistan was previously under British rule. Not long after it came into being in 1955, however, there was a coup d'état followed by martial law. In 1970, Pakistan held its first federal general election, but the winning party won all its seats in East Pakistan and none in West Pakistan, which led to Bangladesh, East Pakistan, declaring independence from Pakistan, the nearly year-long Bangladesh Liberation War, the 1971 Bangladesh Genocide, and eventually the birth of Bangladesh. Gran Colombia. This short-lived republic in South America and southern Central America existed from 1819 to 1830 and broadly included the modern-day countries of Colombia, Panama, Venezuela, and Ecuador. Gran Colombia's short life was beset by conflict, in particular between President Simon Bolívar, pictured as a statue of him, and those who wanted a decentralized, federal form of government. Bolívar eventually resigned in the face of increasing support for the Federalist Constitution. The result was the dissolution of Gran Colombia and the establishment of the independent states of Venezuela, Ecuador, and New Granada. The Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire spanned more than 1,000 years, beginning in AD 800 with the crowning of Charlemagne, pictured as a statue of him, as the first Holy Roman Emperor by Pope Leo III and ending in 1806. Spread across Western and Central Europe, the empire was vast in size and therefore decentralized, giving the regions much autonomy, while defending Europe from Muslim invasion and providing troops for the Crusades. The empire was eventually destroyed by Napoleon. Kingdom of Hawaii. In 1795, the islands of Hawaii, Oahu, Molokai, and Lanai united under a single government. By 1810, the entire archipelago had joined the Kingdom of Hawaii, ruled by two dynasties until it became a republic. It was annexed by the United States in 1898. The U.S. then built a naval base at Pearl Harbor, which was later bombed by Japan during World War II. Hawaii finally became the 50th state to join the Union in 1959. Korea. According to legend, Korea's first kingdom was established around 2300 BCE. For nearly 4,200 years, the shape and leadership of the regions of the Korean peninsula changed many times. The first modern Korean empire was established in 1897 by King Gojong, making him emperor. But his rule was to be short-lived as Japan annexed Korea in 1910. At the end of the Second World War, with Japan surrendering to the Allied forces, the annexation ended, and the leadership of Korea passed to the Provisional Government of the Republic of Korea. Soon after, with the fundamental shifts in global politics, Korea was divided at the 38th parallel into two occupation zones, the north administered by the Soviet Union, and the south by the United States. Attempts were made by the United Nations to establish a single, democratically elected government for the entire region, but these calls were ignored by the Soviets. The result was the 1948 establishment of the Republic of Korea, South Korea, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, North Korea. Both of these states were officially recognized by the United Nations in 1991. Prussia. Set on the southeastern coast of the Baltic Sea, the kingdom was ruled by the German Hohenzollern dynasty from 1701. Over the years, Prussia expanded in size and sovereignty by its military might, seizing much of northern Germany and western Poland in the 18th and 19th centuries. The state was eventually abolished by the Allies after World War II as Germany was divided and Prussia was divvied up, with much of the territory going to the Soviet Union and Poland.